can come on time. Appreciate that. Okay. Thank you, Renee. Thank you. We're all here just to make sure we're all on the same page about the first task in the course level assessment of student learning outcomes process. And the first part of this process is going to be fixing the course out, refining the course outlines so that the outcomes page will differentiate between student learning outcomes and learning objectives. So, you got a PowerPoint. What you have in your packet, at the very top of your packet, you have the 3-page training document that has already been sent to all of you so that you can share this with your colleagues in your department. Absolutely. So that's the first part of that. Then you have in your packet a copy of the PowerPoint presentation that we're going to jet through right now. And then at the end, anybody who wants to work through a particular course, I just happen to go on and put a course that you're currently teaching at the end of your packet so that you can start to work on it right now, just so you get a feel for what's going on. I know I've started already to work with some of you, but I thought a little hands-on might not be so bad. So that's what we're going to go through today, if everybody's okay with that. And of course, you know me, I go too fast, so stop me, slow me down, ask me questions, whatever, just to make sure we're all on the same page so we can go out and get this done and help the college with all of this. Okie doke? All right, Linda's here too, by the way, so you can talk to Linda too if you want to. Okay, first thing, when you go to the course outline page and you go to the outcomes page, you will see what we've had is one big box, and we have just listed all of our statements, whether they're outcomes or objectives. Everything has been thrown into one pile. Now what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to separate it into 2 boxes, learning outcomes and objectives. And the reason we're having to do this is a refinement process, and eventually this was going to have to come, but the ACC-JC warning is sort of providing us a little impetus for this part of the task. Okay. Now, whether it's an outcome or an objective, there are certain things that are similar. Basically, they're all learning statements, and what did I say up here? What do you want them to know or do when they leave the course? Basically, you need to start it with one of the magic verbs. The official comment is the active verbs. This is Bloom's taxonomy, right? Whether it's an outcome, whether it's objective, you're still using the same format as we always have with this. Because we teach college-level credit courses, we need to emphasize critical thinking. These are higher-level thinking skills on the levels of learning of Bloom's taxonomy: analysis, evaluation, synthesis. This should be reflected in our course outlines because we're teaching college-level courses here. So definitely outcomes. You may have more of the, you may have some of that in the objective part too. But that overall is one of the standards, okay? All right, just flip it through, that's fine. Okay, now let's talk about SLOs. I have bolded out the important things for your eye to go to. These SLOs are broad. They're core, what do you want them to know or do when they leave the class? These are your overarching concepts or skills that you want the student to learn when they're done with that course. The thing about SLOs is that you are going to have to assess them, so you need to keep that in the back of your mind too as you're developing these outcomes. Everybody okay with that so far? Okay, let's go to the next one, Linda. Okay, now I collected up some samples just so that you get an idea of what we're sort of looking at here. Now, you can see most of these have critical thinking already in them by the use of the first verb in the list. But if you have a lab course, it would seem reasonable that that would be, a type of performance would be at the outcome level. So perform or demonstrate for the RP, draw, paint, things like that. Okay, does that make sense to everybody? But most of them, you need to be reflecting critical thinking in the outcome at the outcomes level, because those are terminal learning outcomes that you're expecting of the student. Okay. Now the objectives. These are the smaller, more narrow steps within the course that will lead eventually to the learning outcomes. It's more specific knowledge, it's skills, it's tools that they're using, abilities, but it's the smaller steps to build up for there. Does that make sense? So, okay, great, we're good there. Oh, one of the things I failed to mention, sorry about this, local standards. With the outcomes, we're looking about 2 to 5. Don't go crazy, okay? With the objectives, the local standard is around 10. Some of the vocational classes maybe will have a little bit more because of accrediting agencies or something along those lines. But, you know, this is just a ballpark, common sense type of thing. Yeah?
Question, on the SLOs, minimum 2, max 5, somewhere around there, if we're working for a deadline day, let's say we're working for a deadline day, say fall 2009 maybe, on our SLOs for each one of our classes, can we just begin the process maybe with 2, and then as we continue to refine the class or update the class, add more?
Yeah, that's the whole point of the outcomes assessment process is you start, but it is an ongoing process.
Correct.
And so then as you go through this, you might find things that need to be adjusted and tweaked and all of that and that's the whole point of all of this. So yes, we're starting, and then we keep refining and going and making things better. Okay? All right, so we're back to objectives. The next slide is just some samples of what would be the objective level of all of this. I just grabbed some and put them up there. Here again, some are critical thinking, some are the lower levels of thinking, identify and discuss and explain the little lower levels of thinking. That seems reasonable at this level because you're building for this. Okay? Everybody good with the objectives part of this? Okay. What's next? Okay. One of the other things you have to do once you divide these up is now you got to cross-check them. You got to make sure that all the objectives you have in that course link to at least one of the outcomes. You can't just have an objective just floating out there by itself. Everything needs to interrelate. So one of the things you have to do is you have to be down in the objective box, check all of them, and go back up and check to make sure at least it links to one. With all of this. What I'm finding as I'm going around and talking with people is that sometimes you may need to reword, you may need to add another objective because something's missing. As you've established your outcomes, you found a piece was lacking before. You can do all of that now. That'll be great. That's fine.
Do all of the objectives have to relate to the outcome?
Yes. Some outcome. One or multiple of them. But they all need to interrelate. Yes?
I didn't ask you this yesterday at our meeting. But somebody asked me this morning from Mike's faculty. He made a comment, if we have the outcomes and you have the objectives that are relating back, why don't we label them A and then little a, B, little b, so we know which go where?
If you look in your training document and you actually, one of the steps suggests to help you with your thinking process, you might want a number and do just that so you can see the correlation to help you with your thinking process to make sure it's all complete and interrelated. Then you can take the numbers off and do that.
When it comes time to assessing them, you're going to need to assess that outcome to know which one of those objectives with that outcome.
Do we really want to talk about assessment at this point? Okay. Okay, not right now. No, okay. Mike, we'll talk afterwards about that point, okay? You don't need to be that detailed. Listen, I'm the one that said you don't need to be that detailed. Okay, I'm on tape, right, saying this. You don't need to be that correlated in the document right now. If you want to, knock yourself out. That's great. But you really don't have, you just have to make sure that the content expert needs to make sure that everything interrelates, and that's all we're asking right now.
Okay, I saw in the paperwork that you sent out that technique of relating, like taking the notes and then taking it off.
Right, because you don't need
to do that. If we choose on our objectives to have in parentheses after the objective, let's say a statement that says relates to outcome number 3.
If you want to do that,
put that in there and have that and send that back to you to be posted in the curriculum outline.
sure. If you want to do that, sure.
Thank you.
Anything else right now? Okay, what's next? Okay, this is your process. Some of you have already started this. This might be a review. this might be new to all of you. What you're going to do is you're going to look at the existing adopted course outline, okay? In your training packet, I said I used the faculty access point to the database, which, you know, you got to log in and do your password and all of that. One of the things that I'm finding that might help any part-time faculty who is doing this, or anybody who has not been on the database recently and they forgot their password, we have a public access route to the database to all the adopted outlines. You might want to write this down. It is called courseoutline.lbcc.edu. And that's, you don't have to log in, you don't have to do anything, and you can get there, boom, right there without doing all the login and all of that. Courseoutline.lbcc.edu. That's the public access route to the database. It will only get you to adopted outlines. It won't get you to drafts or pending, which you don't have to worry about right now anyway, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to go to the, you've got your worksheet, you go to the course outline database, and you're going to look at the existing list. Now, when you look at your list, you're going to find one of three things, and those are the check marks right there. You might find in the existing list that all of the outcomes for that course are already listed there. You might find that some of the outcomes are there, but not all of them. Or you might not find any outcomes at all. Just depends on what it is. Depending on what you find, then we'll determine what you need to do. Okay? All right, next. Okay, here's an example. All of them are there. This is an existing course, and this is a current listing in an existing course. And so we go through the existing list. You want to flip to the next one, Linda? And it has been identified that there are 4 outcomes already in that list. Now, you will notice number 4, we bolded them out. They're going to move that one up to the outcomes, but that also needs a little bit of rewording. You're going to see that some of the wording might need to be massaged a little bit. That's perfectly acceptable. Number 11, it's just going to automatically move up because it's an appropriate statement. So it just depends on what you find. So Linda, the next one. So then here's your 2-box configuration. Does that make sense? You're going to have outcomes at the top and then all the objectives down below. Okay, that could be one scenario you might find, that all the outcomes are there. All right, next, Linda. Okay, now here's another outline. When we had them look at this, they only found some of the outcomes there. Linda, next one. We bolded the ones, they found 2, but it wasn't complete listing. So what the faculty author did is they added another one, because only some of them were there for the complete structure of the course. So then you can see when you get done in the final product on your worksheet, it's going to have the 2 boxes with all that. Does that make sense? So far, we're good? Last one. We're looking at this outline, and we found that there were no outcomes in the outline. I did this before. Okay. So, go to the next one. What they had to do is that they had to create, you can see it at the bottom of the slide, they had to create all new outcomes for the course because all that were there were objectives. They also found that they needed to add another objective to make sure that it was a complete listing. So this is the adjustment process. So when you get done with this, you'll see we'll have all the outcomes at the top and a complete listing of objectives that relate to all of the outcomes. Depends on what you find. Okay. That's it. Now, are there any questions at this point? You sure? Okay. Now we're going to try it ourselves. And so at the end of your packet, I have given you the face page, the outcome page, and the content page of a course that you currently have. And I thought this might be nice for you to actually walk yourself through the process to sort of play around with this. Some of you have non-credit courses in your packet. For all of you that have non-credit courses, those are the 600 number courses in our catalog of courses. The way that page has been developed, you're basically writing objectives already. So all you have to do with non-credit courses is add an outcome or 2 for non-credit courses, and that's all you have to do. And everything else is the same. Does that make sense to non-credit people? Okay?
800 is the same?
No, 800 is, no. You're going to have to do what we did. okay? Non-credit is only 600 numbered courses, okay? That's it. And so one worksheet per class. Linda and I are your peer reviewers. Just make sure you're on the right page. Then you email it into that SLO@lbcc.edu. The college has agreed to hire a clerk on who will copy and paste and put them in the actual outlines. So you do not make a draft outline. You do not get signatures. Don't do it. Worksheets.
I noticed on mine that a lot of my objectives are actually outcomes, and I could be a lot more specific with the objectives.
Fabulous.
So in this process, I could move a number of these things up as outcomes and
Build.
write new objectives. And
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
Great.
Whatever you find, you refine. Whatever's there. Okay? Yeah? Did I miss anything?
Just that when they send them to the SLO address, to say it's been okayed by one of them.
In the email, just say that we okayed it so the clerk knows, that it's okay to go ahead and do it. One other thing, to make it a little bit easier, not much, but a little bit easier, if when you find, for example, the listing that's already there and they're all objectives and you don't want to add, you don't want to rework, and all you're doing is making new outcomes for a particular course, you can put your outcomes in the top box, and then in the objective box you can say same per original. So all they do is to add that in and just leave the rest there. I confused you, didn't I? No? Got it? Just trying to make it a little bit easier.
You said it needs, when we send it to SLO app, that we put on there that it's been approved by you, but I don't see a stage up in there where it goes to be, is that the peer reviewer?
That's it.
Okay.
How does the worksheet get to the peer reviewer?
You can email me or email Linda.
So we're sending.
Yes, just send us a worksheet. We'll look at a couple, and make sure you're on the right track. And if you feel confident enough that you know what to do, you're willing to do that, because we got to sort of get these done. So if you feel confident enough that you got the lay of the land, then you can just send them all in that way. And we'll talk with you and make sure that everybody feels comfortable with this. And we'll give you as much assistance and support as you need or want at this point. That's what we're here for. So, Yellen.
Are you two the only two reviewers for the whole school?
I don't know.
Because I mean,
Right now, yeah, until we talk to people and everybody sort of feels comfortable, it's your comfort level, okay, with all of this.
so there's no,
Right now, because right now we're sort of following the course review process, and I review certain schools, Linda reviews certain schools. So we'll start out that way, see how it rolls, and make sure that, we get, but the more people we educate about this and can help collegially, we're all for that. Okey doke? All right, Fred, yeah, Sigrid, I'm sorry.
To make sure that when, this is one of those, like the course outline, that we hope that we get agreement with the whole faculty. For some of these, it might only be one or two people, but it's good to get it shown to the rest of the group and to have it be, because when we have such a short timeline, sometimes we do just assign one person, but if there's more than one person teaching that course, of course it's good to go ahead and share it with them and get their input. Okay? So,
In a timely manner.
yes, in a timely manner.
Okay? All right, Fred, you can turn it off, and then the rest of us, now if you would like to stay and sort of work through one of them just to make sure you've got your mind wrapped around it, we're here to help you and walk around, and you can help each other or ask questions that pop up. But if you want to take a look at the outcomes page that you were given, and you might want to cross-reference it with the content page that's been provided for you, just to make sure the current listing is complete. If not, you might want to jot down some thoughts for you right now, okay? That was the point of the rest of this.
now May 8th, you're being another workshop, is that very same as what we're doing right today?
May 8th, Friday, May 8th, from 9 to 12 in L252, Linda and I will be in that, it's a computer room. We'll have the worksheet on all the desktops so people can come in and work these and start pounding them out. And we'll be there. And so I can do this little presentation, but it's more of a hands-on type of one. But yes, I'll do the presentation and talk to people, gear everybody up, get them, to give you an opportunity. The other thing that reminded me, Judy, thank you. One of the things we're laying out is during finals. I'm going to be holding more of these sessions every day during finals to provide people the opportunity to do this. Most of the sessions will be this outline objective, let's update the outlines, but I will have a couple of presentations that are different. One will be course assessment options. We'll start dipping our toes into that once you get the outcomes and objectives squared away. And then the other one will be on creating an outcomes assessment plan, which is the documentation of the entire assessment process. So we can do that too. But if that's a little too much for you, we can take it a step at a time. No problem. No problem. But there will be, and a flyer will be coming out soon as we get the rooms squared away. There will be flyers coming out in your email to inform you about all this. And then that you can share with anybody and everybody. Y'all come for all that. But we want to provide opportunity and assistance. That's the whole point of all this. Provide you opportunity and assistance so we can all help each other. Okay? Great. All right, so if you don't mind, if you want to turn to your outcomes page and sort of go back and forth between the outcomes page and the content page and see what you have and see if you like it, if anything needs to be reworded or anything like that, and I'd be more than happy to help you if anybody has a question.
Down you're up and walk me through a couple of them. Well, I don't want you to struggle if you don't have to, but if you want to do it that way, knock yourself out.
It's yourself.
You got it.
See how.
You know what? Joe.
That's awesome.
Okay, because I sent it to the rest of my faculty to sort of look at it and see if they can work their stuff.
1A, 1B, 2, 5.
But I think we're all going to use this first experience a lot.
And as long as you always add at least 1 or 2 more for specificity, because the safety is really big in your lab classes, so that would be reasonable in all of those lab classes, absolutely.
The person who's got a lot of work is Doug Britt, because Janice is here, he's got about 25 biology courses.
What about Mary? Mary's chemistry.
Just take the whole thing.
To help you, one of the things you want to do is try to guide yourself through that, because all those outcomes have to be if you want me to come to one of your department meetings, if you want Doug, call me, and I can call Okay, but if you have to, I would have to come to his office, sit down and walk through a couple of them, just to, just so that he doesn't struggle so much, it's nice of him You know what, we do have a new revised blue taxonomy on the website, I don't know how much they're doing this yet. They already use it. Okay. Discuss. Okay. What kind of words do you like? Right, is good. You use calculator a lot. Great. Well, if you come up with anything else that makes sense, that's kind of easy. Okay? We're not married to that, but that this is looking like oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay. All right. Thanks for coming, Joe. I appreciate it. If there's anything else I can do for you or your departments, let me know. You just got to guard the little bit. But I need to double check some there. Okay, and just have them send them to me to double check before they send them in.
I said that.
Please reinforce that. Please reinforce that. Yeah. Okay?
Great.
Thank you, sir.
SLO samples on PowerPoint.
Your suggestion was
I mean, that seems like it'd be appropriate.
to do one
That's what I get.
You're talking about an assessment tool.
Now, would you, I clearly identified three. Well, what I did was I pulled out each objective has chapters, it's like together.
And the outside of all that.
Yeah, it's gonna say calculate this, calculate that. So you said, when that number is calculated, and then you said short overarching one. That's basically what I did.
Yeah, you have
Right now, let's say there's a green on,